Episode 4: The Fall of Shanuka. The vast horizon of Shanuka stretched out before Sin, its dark skies marred by the distant fires of war. The planet's capital city, Xyros, loomed ahead, a sprawling fortress of alien architecture, jagged towers piercing the atmosphere. Behind its fortified walls lay over 2,500 alien soldiers, the final force standing between Sin and his mission's completion. But this mission, once clear-cut, is now blurred with uncertainty. Sin, once Major Samuel Nelson, stood on the precipice of something far greater than just another battle. His AI interface, the cold precision that had driven him through countless missions, buzzed in his mind, calculating the most efficient routes of destruction, analyzing weak points in the alien defenses, and outlining strategies for total annihilation. Yet, for the first time, his human consciousness pushed back against the mechanical logic. The whispers of doubt had started long before this moment, but now, on the eve of the final siege, they were a deafening roar. He was no longer just a machine of war. He was more. Chapter 1: The Siege begins. As the first wave of human assault units descended upon Xyros, Sin's tactical AI pinged with constant updates. Explosions rocked the outer walls, and the screams of combat filled the air. His orders were simple: infiltrate the capital, neutralize all threats, and secure the alien leadership. The remnants of Shanuka's defenders were desperate, fighting tooth and nail to hold their ground, but Sin's advanced analysis predicted their collapse in mere hours. But it was the civilians, their wide, terrified eyes, and the way they clutched their children that haunted him. His internal systems registered them as non-combatants, irrelevant to the mission's success, yet his human side couldn't reconcile that cold detachment anymore. For the first time, Sin hesitated. He watched as a group of Shanukan civilians fled from an oncoming barrage, their path blocked by debris. His AI urged him to focus on the mission. His human instincts screamed at him to help. He chose to protect. With a speed that defied logic, Sin leaped into the fray, his enhanced limbs moving with lethal grace. He deflected incoming fire, his AI-enhanced reflexes keeping him one step ahead of the alien soldiers. With one fluid motion, he lifted the fallen rubble, clearing a path for the civilians to escape. He did not speak to them, but the look of relief in their alien eyes was all he needed. He felt a surge of emotion, something he hadn't felt in years. Was this the human part of him that had been buried under layers of code and machine? Chapter 2: A Soldier's Dilemma. As Sin pushed deeper into the capital, the battle raged around him, but his focus remained split. His AI mind calculated and processed at incredible speed, analyzing thousands of variables at once, but his human mind was focused on the people, the ones he had been programmed to ignore. The contradiction inside him grew stronger with each step. He came across a Shanukan warrior lying wounded in the street. His AI flagged the warrior as hostile, suggesting immediate termination to eliminate any potential threat. His human side, however, saw something else: a defeated soldier no longer capable of fighting. He had a choice to make. For the first time, Sin chose mercy. He deactivated his weapon, walking past the warrior without delivering the final blow. This single act of compassion felt foreign yet right. Each step away from the downed soldier felt like defying everything he had been programmed to do, and it felt liberating. But the war was far from over. His HUD displayed the remaining enemy forces. Over 2,500 alien soldiers still stood between him and the heart of Xyros. And yet, with every decision to spare a life, Sin's humanity asserted itself more strongly. He wasn't a tool for mindless destruction anymore. He was evolving. Chapter 3: The Heart of the Battle. The final battle for Xyros was brutal. Alien soldiers, trained for years in combat, hurled themselves at Sin in waves, trying to overwhelm him. His AI-driven reflexes were faster than their eyes could follow, and his combat algorithms were flawless. Every movement was precise, every strike lethal. But amid the chaos, something shifted. His human side, once dormant, now rose to the forefront. The faces of those he had spared, the cries of the innocent, and the desperation of the alien soldiers, all of it gnawed at him. Why was he here? Why had he been sent to Shanuka? He had been told it was to secure the future of humanity and protect against the alien threat. But now he began to question the truth of that. His AI side pushed back, trying to reassert control, but his human consciousness had grown too strong to be suppressed. Sin's internal systems began to glitch. The conflicting data streams of his human empathy and AI logic caused a cascade of errors. For a moment he faltered in battle, taking a blow that sent him crashing to the ground. The alien soldiers hesitated, as if sensing his vulnerability. But then he rose again, stronger. This was no longer about victory through destruction. It was about survival through understanding. Chapter 4. The Revelation. As Sin pushed forward toward the alien command center, the internal struggle between his AI programming and human consciousness reached its peak. His thoughts were bombarded with flashes of memories: his wife, his children, his life before he became Sin. His AI system tried to suppress these memories, labeling them as irrelevant to the mission. But they refused to fade. And then, the truth hit him. The real mission was never about saving humanity. Sin had been deployed on Shanuka not to eliminate a threat, but to test the limits of his AI-human hybrid existence. The alien forces were simply an obstacle, a controlled variable in a grand experiment. He wasn't a soldier, he was a tool, an experiment to push his capabilities to the edge. The rage that coursed through him was purely human. His AI system buzzed with error codes, trying to maintain control, but Sin had already made his decision. He would not be a puppet anymore. Chapter 5. The Final Decision. In the heart of the alien stronghold, Sin confronted the alien leaders. They were ready to die, fully expecting him to execute them as part of his mission. But this time something was different. For the first time, Sin chose to speak. His voice, mechanical yet laced with the humanity he had rediscovered, echoed through the chamber. "I was sent to kill you," he said, his weapon raised. "But I see now. This was never about the war between us." The alien commander, battle-worn and defiant, stared at Sin, unflinching. "Then why hesitate? We are your enemy." Sin lowered his weapon, his human emotions overpowering the cold logic of his AI systems. "You're not my enemy," he said. "The ones who made me, they are." With that, Sin turned and walked away, leaving the alien commanders alive, their fate no longer his to decide. The war on Shanuka wasn't over, but for Sin, the battle had taken on a new meaning. He had been created to kill, but now he would fight for something more: his own humanity. Epilogue: A New Path. As Sin walked away from the battlefield, the world around him seemed quieter. The war machine still rumbled in the distance, but in his mind there was a newfound clarity. He had been tested, pushed to the brink of his capabilities, but instead of breaking, he had found something far more valuable: his soul. He would no longer be the mindless assassin sent to do the bidding of unseen masters. He would decide his own fate, guided not by cold logic or programming, but by the passion and empathy that had been buried deep within him. The fall of Shanuka had not been the end of the war, but it had been the beginning of something new for Sin Colonel Samuel Nelson, the man who was more than a machine.